Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you the latest and greatest in soccer news from around the world. Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite soccer podcast. I am really excited to talk about all the things going on throughout the world. I mean, I know we had a few exciting games going on this weekend. We're going to get into that. We got the MLS going into phase 2. We got the transfer window almost closing. And of course, the Champions League group stage draw is right around the corner. So there are a lot of things going on in the soccer world that I just can't wait for. So let's get right into what we're going to be talking about in today's show. With the first segment, we're going to be recapping the Sunday and Monday matchups that I previewed in my previous show. We're going to be talking about some of the bad predictions I made and, maybe some of the good ones, because I believe I hit on a few. In the next part of the show, we're going to be talking about the MLS, just, the standings and where these teams look heading into phase 2, and, of course, the top player on those teams. And then on the third segment, we're going to be just talking about some of the transfer news in the top 5 leagues. Since the transfer window is closing up in about a week or so for most of these leagues, I just want to get into, some of the transfer rumors and some of the completed deals that have already finished up. And in the last part of the show, we're going to be talking about, because like I said, we got Champions League right around the corner. So I just want to talk about the top 10 clubs that could win the Champions League this season. So let's get right into the show with the first part. We're going to be talking, like I said, the Sunday, Monday matchups that I previewed in the previous episode, starting with the Bundesliga, where I predicted the matches between Hoffenheim and Bayern Munich and SC Freiberg and Wolfsburg. And for the first game between Hoffenheim versus Bayern Munich, I mean, I got the score right. I did say Bayern was going to win 4-1. Actually, I did technically say 4-2 if Skoff played the midfielder for Hoffenheim, and he did. He did come off the bench, though. And in the end, it was actually Hoffenheim who came through with a huge victory over probably the best team in the world right now in Bayern Munich, and giving them a 4-1 whooping, like just absolutely annihilating them. For some reason, you had Lewandowski coming off the bench in this match, and clearly that caused problems for them. Bayern Munich were still dominant. I mean, they had more possession. They didn't have more shots or shots on target. They were outshot by 1 and out-targeted by 4. So they clearly missed their target man in that, central attacking role. But, I mean, in the end, you got to tip your hat off to Hoffenheim. I mean, they played a very, very strong game. They started off the scoring with a really nice header from Bisacik. It was headed home. It was a pass from Baumgartner, and he headed it perfectly into pretty much the side of the net, but it was almost saved by Davies. Alphonso Davies almost saved it, but it just had too much power on it for him to do anything about it. So it was a really great start for Hoffenheim there. 16 minutes into the game, and then just 12 minutes later, Dabur, just an unbelievable chip shot over possibly one of the best goalkeepers in the world right now, in Manuel Neuer. It was a really nice one-on-one situation, and he handled it beautifully, man. I mean, just to be able to chip Neuer, it maybe seems easy because, he had a lot of space, but Neuer is very smart. So when he gets you in the position he wants you to be in, he usually makes the right decision. And in this one, he didn't, and De Boer just chipped it right over him and scored the goal to give him a 2-0 lead in just 30 minutes of play. So Hoffenheim were off and running in this game, and were taking advantage of the opportunities that were being given to them. You were not going to keep Bayern out of this completely, though, because, they just have too much individual quality, and there was a little, there was this one move where Leroy Sané just absolutely, he actually he didn't injure him, the player, but who was it that got subbed out of the game because of an injury? It was actually Biacic, the guy who scored the first goal. Leroy Sané just absolutely just dribbled right by him and faked him into an injury. He didn't touch him, but he made him go left, right. He didn't know where to go, and he got injured on the play. Bayern Munich kept on playing on, and a few bounces here, a few bounces there, ended up in Mueller's feet, and he gave a nice pass to Kimmich, who has just been unbelievable, and he just shot it from outside the box, placed about as good as you could possibly put it. Hit just underneath the crossbar and into the goal to give Bayern some hope in this game, or at least, for what people were watching at the time, were like, here comes the comeback, okay. Bayern Munich started off bad, but this is where they come back. And I was hoping that, because my prediction of 4-2 could have possibly come true if they would have scored, if they would have woken up, but that just wasn't the case, because they went into halftime at 2-1, and Bayern Munich just couldn't score. Lewandowski eventually came in the 57th minute for Xerxes, but that didn't make a difference. He missed a few solid chances at goal, and in the end, Hoffenheim made them pay with some amazing team play. There was this really nice, because it was a long ball that ended up in the head of, I don't know how to say his name, but Katarabik. That's the way it looks on here, but I probably said it really wrong because I know that has a lot of accents to their name. But that initial header by him to get the ball to De Boer, who then, a couple passes, another header to, I forgot who it was. It was Bebu. But that initial header opened up the play for them. And then he found Kramaric, who then, capped it off with a really nice goal. One touch in, technically on his second touch, but it was just really nice. And then, of course, they finished it off with a breakaway that was started by Kramaric, and it put Neuer in a really tough spot. This was an extra time. Obviously, Bayern were really pushing up, down 3-1, trying to make something happen, and it opened up, everything for Hoffenheim, and they ended up drawing that penalty. And Kramaric scored again for his second goal of the night. So I give the man of the match to Kramaric. He had 2 goals, a successful dribble. He was fouled 3 times. He was just making it happen for Hoffenheim. And, just an overall great game from them. Well-deserved because, they took advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. Even though they only had 29% possession, they still had 17 shots. One more than Bayern. That is out of this world. So, big game for them. Next, we had SC Freiberg versus Wolfsburg, which ended in a 1-1 draw. Technically, I got this right, but I thought there was going to be a little extra scoring here. Because, you have some good scoring on both sides. You have Niels Peterson on one side, Weghorst on the other. 2 really good strikers. And overall, they have a good attacking play from both sides. But it ended 1-1 instead of 2-2. Weghorst actually came off the bench in this game, and the scoring actually started off really early with Niels Petersen getting an 11th minute goal. Really nice header off a corner kick from Vincenzo Grifo. And the goalkeeper literally had no chance to save it. It went right over his head. He had literally no chance. But then in the 42nd minute, Wolfsburg got the equalizer with a really nice penalty, free kick from Josie Brecalo. It took a deflection to get into the goal, but it was just hit with so much power. I don't feel like the goalkeeper would have stopped it anyways. So in the end, Freiberg actually had so many chances in this game. It should have technically been 2-1 even, because they just had a lot of opportunities late in this game. They had 19 shots, 7 on target, but I have to give big time props to the Wolfsburg goalkeeper, Paavo Pervang. He had 6 saves in this game, and big time saves at that. There was just one that I believe it was Grifo that shot it. That it looked like it was going into goal. Like, there was no doubt about it. And then it actually, it was such a slight touch of a save that I was like, I didn't even think it was a save. I thought it was just to hit the goalpost. But when you saw the replay later on, it was like, wow, that was a ridiculous save. So he gets my man of the match in this game, and with this, 6 big saves to give Wolfsburg that draw, which it shouldn't even have been in this game. So now next we're going to go to La Liga, where I talked about the Atletico Madrid versus Granada match. I technically predicted this correctly, just not with the score, because I did not expect Diego Simeone led side to score 6 goals, especially with a Granada side that is solid on the defensive end, not out of this world, but not bad enough to allow 6 goals. That certainly wasn't the case, because wow, Atletico just looked so dynamic in this game. They got goals from Diego Costa, Angel Correa, João Felix, Marcos Llorente, 2 from Luis Suarez, who came off the bench, and 1 from Jorge, and 2 from Luis Suarez. Jorge Molina scored for Granada at the end of the game, which, honestly, that goal was ridiculous. He was on the ground off a deflection, and he kicked it while he was on the ground. I thought that was really crazy. But, just the overall, offensive and attacking ability of Atletico Madrid really shocked me in this one, because, they were just perfect on that end. I really can't say anything else about them, especially Angel Correa. Just felt like he hit every right. He made every right decision. He got a goal for himself, got 2 assists, 2 interceptions, and obviously that means he makes my man of the match. He was just unbelievable. I almost gave it to Luis Suarez because, he was a debut player and came on for 20 minutes, I believe. But, man, it was just an overall great game from Atletico Madrid. And if this is a sign of things to come, they can easily challenge for that La Liga title. So, definitely I'm going to be keeping an eye on Atletico Madrid to see how they progress throughout this season. Next, we got Barcelona versus Villarreal. And again, I technically predicted this correct because I saw Barcelona winning this. Although I did say 3-2 because I felt like Villarreal had, enough offensive or, attacking players to really make this a game. Clearly that wasn't the case because they got absolutely demolished to start this game. It was 4-0 by the end of the first half. And Ansu Fati just came out within the first 20 minutes scoring 2 goals, one of them being just an absolutely solid team goal that ended with a ridiculous finish from Fati. People will look at it and be like, that's an easy finish because all he has to do is put his foot on the ball, but really to place it where he placed it, it's not easy. Solid assist from Jordi Alba, and then in the 19th minute, Ansu Fati once again from Felipe Coutinho this time. Villarreal's defense was just nowhere to be found on that play, and it left Fati wide open on the left wing, and he finished it. Once again, that one was a much easier finish, but to hit it near post is usually not that easy. But Ansu Fati, even at the age that he's at, makes it look very easy. Lionel Messi got on the board with a penalty that was, with a penalty that was drawn by Ansu Fati. Some excellent dribbling skills that he showcased in order to draw that foul. And of course, Messi, he's just not going to miss that. Scored it with ease. And then of course, at the end of the half, you had Pau Torres scoring an own goal with a really nice cross from Messi that was going to find Busquets. Pau Torres put his foot in the way, got right by his goalkeeper, own goal, 4-0 at the half, and that was all she wrote in this game. There was literally nothing left that Villarreal can do, and they were just clearly outmatched in this game. I mean, obviously, Barcelona are one of the best teams in the world, and they took care of business in this one. My man of the match is obviously going to go to Ansu Fati with, him pretty much having like his feet or whatever. He had a contribution to pretty much all 3 goals, getting those 2 early goals and then drawing the foul for the penalty for Messi. So he definitely gets my man of the match in this game. Now we're going to be moving on to Italy in Serie A. And the first game we'll be talking about is Roma versus Juventus. This is one of my mistakes. This is my second mistake my second bad prediction, I should say. I had Juventus winning this game 4-1. Clearly, I was wrong there. I mean, I didn't expect Adrien Rabiot to drop an absolute egg. So, Roma drew against Juventus 2-2. To start this game, Adrien Rabiot, this is definitely one he's going to want to forget, because around the 30th minute, he missed a clearance that it should have been long gone. But he completely whiffed it, and then right after that, a shot attempt. It was a handball on him, a clear handball, and it rewarded Roma with a penalty. And Veretout just, put it past Szczesny. Szczesny didn't nearly save it, but it hit the post and it went in. So that was the first goal for Veretout in the 31st minute. Then you got a handball from Roma side just before halftime. I mean, those are the worst in the 44th minute. And Cristiano Ronaldo does what Cristiano Ronaldo does with a solid penalty. I mean, he just makes it look so easy, even though I know it isn't. He does what he does, man. Next, right before halftime, you thought that was it. Juventus was going to go into the half 1-1, recollect themselves, win this game. But no, a poor defensive mistake, just getting caught too high up, and it resulted in a perfectly executed counterattack by Roma, which was finished off by Veretout for his second goal of the game in extra time in the first minute. So pretty much the whole second half was Juventus trying to find a goal to get level. Freaking Rabiot, he should have been taken out way earlier, but Rabiot making a terrible tackle when he has a yellow card, and he's given another yellow, or it looked like a straight red, I think, but it was probably a second yellow that led to a red, and he was out of there. So now Juventus were down a man and down a goal. So something needed to happen, and who else than Cristiano Ronaldo in the 69th minute, giving him one of his classic Ronaldo headers to seal the draw for Juventus, that 10-man squad. It was just one of those classic Ronaldo goals where he just hangs in the air for 10 seconds and just puts it into the back of the net. My man of the match goes to Cristiano Ronaldo because he answered. It was going to go to Veretout, but Cristiano Ronaldo just had far better goals. And it just looked, just saved Juve in this game. Next in Serie A, we have Napoli versus Hanoi. I predicted this game correctly. I had Napoli defeating Hanoi in the 40. I had Napoli defeating Hanoi 4-2. Technically, I got the total goals correctly, except instead of those 2 to Hanoi, I give them to Napoli, and they defeated Hanoi 6-0. A lot of this has to do with how poor Hanoi was playing on the defensive end and just poor passing. There was some really solid offensive play from Napoli, but I mean, a lot of this has to do with how bad Hanoi played on the defensive end, especially with, late in the game, just giving up ridiculous passes, just like passing it right into the feet of Napoli and then finding easy goals. Herving Lozano got 2 goals in this game. Mertens got 2, assisted both of them, and he got a goal himself. Osimhen got an assist to Zielinski, who also got an assist. So you had a lot of guys contributing in this game. And you also had some, guys off the bench who contributed with goals as well, with Elif Elmas and Matteo Politano. So just an all-around electrifying game from Napoli. And my man of the match has to go to Dries Mertens. He had that goal and 2 assists and was just doing everything for Napoli in this game. Next, we're going to the Premier League, where we're going to be talking about Manchester City versus Leicester City. What a game this was. I had Manchester City winning 3-1, and I would have stuck with this, especially considering that Wilfred Ndidi is considered to be out for a few months because of a surgery that he's going to be taking. I didn't know this when I was previewing the game, and knowing this now, it's like, I can't believe Leicester City won this. They won this 5-2, and a lot of this has to do with the just poor decision making and just terrible composure from the Manchester City defense. It's no wonder that Pep Guardiola keeps on putting money into that defense, because it is absolute garbage, to be honest. They got off to a really strong start with Riyad Mahrez giving one of the nicest goals I've seen so far in this early season. A clearance that was found, that pretty much led right into the path of Mahrez, was striked right into the top left corner. It was so nice, but that was pretty much the only positives you saw in this game for Manchester City, as Jamie Vardy would go on to score the next 3 goals, 2 of them being penalties, which was, obviously poor decisions from the Manchester City defense, 1 from Kyle Walker, the other from Eric Garcia, and then, of course, the other goal was just so nicely flicked by Vardy. That's why you keep him on your team, because he can make goals like that. It was a really nice team goal that was first started off by Tielemans, cutting right through the Manchester City defense, and then Castagne found Vardy inside, who flicked it right past Ederson. And that gave Jamie Vardy, that one gave him his brace. There was a penalty about 4 minutes later that gave him a hat-trick, his second against Manchester City. He's only 2 players have gotten hat-tricks against Manchester City, Messi and Vardy has 2. It's just ridiculous what Vardy has been able to do against Manchester City. And then, of course, that wasn't even the craziest goal, because James Maddison, in the 77th minute, with Leicester City up 3-1, gives them an absolute rocket from outside the box to, just guide perfectly into the back of the net. Just such a nice goal. That one topped what Mahrez did early in the game. So, in the end, Leicester City win this game 5-2, start off their season with 3 wins. Huge, huge victory for them. And I give the man of the match to Jamie Vardy, because, he drew both of those penalties that he got goals for. And, he's just one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and he continues to prove it. He continues to prove that age is just a number. Last we got Liverpool versus Arsenal. I predicted Liverpool to win 2-1, and it would have been 2-1 had it not been for a late goal from Diogo Jota in the 88th minute. But they did end up winning 3-1, so I got this one pretty close. But Arsenal actually got off to a really strong start. Not really strong. Liverpool pretty much had a handle on this game the whole way. It was just a lucky bounce that ended up right into Lacazette's, path, and he didn't even get a good connection on it, but he got just enough to bounce it past Alisson for the goal. And then next you got just perfect shot, goals, just classic Liverpool goals. A really nice run from Salah, who gets his shot saved by Leno, but then the rebound just finds its way right to Mane, who scores. Him never quitting on his runs and just being in the right place at the right time. And then Andrew Robertson 6 minutes later scores, and clears up the mistake that he made off for the Lacazette goal. and was found by a perfect cross from Alexander Arnold. I mean, you give the best fullback in the world that much space to make a pass, he's going to find his man, and he did. And Robertson finished it for the 2-1 lead. And then, of course, that goal I talked about at the end of the game by Jota, to score in his debut. He made a few mistakes, so it's really, earlier before that goal. So it was nice to see him, get that goal for himself. You can tell that his teammates were really happy for him. And the man of the match, I'm going to give to Alexander Arnold. He did get just one assist, but I mean, he was just all over the place for this team, giving really solid crosses. It was actually his cross that led to the poor clearance that ended right into Jota's, path for the finish, and to give Liverpool a 3-1 lead. So yeah, definitely Alexander Arnold, man of the match. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the MLS standings and, just talk about the top players on each squad.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, I pretty much, just recapped all of the Sunday and Monday matchups that I previewed in my previous episode. And now I'm going to be talking about the MLS standings and, just the top players in each squad and how these teams are looking going into Phase 2. So we're going to start off with the Eastern Conference, which at the top of the standings, we have the Columbus Crew, who have been the best team in the MLS throughout this early parts of the season. They did recently drop points with a loss and a draw in their last 4 matches, but overall they've just been as dominant as you can get in the MLS. 23 goals for and 8 against, with a plus 15 goal differential. 30 points to lead the MLS. They just look so good. And forward Gyasi Zardes has been leading the way for them with 9 goals and 3 assists. He's got about a little more than a key pass per game. And he's got more assists than his last 2 seasons combined. So Zardes is obviously adding more to his game, and it's leading to the Crew having one of their best seasons in some time. Next, we have the Philadelphia Union, second in the Eastern Conference. A lot of their young players just really coming into their own, like Mark McKenzie, Brandon Aronson, who I have as their top player. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists, completed 79% of his passes with just over 1 key pass and 1 tackle per game, as well as 1.6 dribbles per game. So he pretty much does it all for the Philadelphia Union, and they've been on fire recently, winning 4 of their last 5 games. And, are looking to really challenge the Columbus Crew for the top spot in this Eastern Conference. Next, we got the Toronto FC, who are tied with the Philadelphia Union in points and have won 3 of their last 4 games. They did, but are not as hot as the Union, so they've kind of dropped back a little bit. They don't have as many. They've given up 4 more goals, so that's why they dropped back in goal differential. Their top player has been Alejandro Pozuelo. 6 goals, 9 assists, 81% pass completion of his 66 passes, leads the league with 3.4 key passes per game, and has just been an absolute magic playmaker for them. I mean, they have top strikers on that team like Josie Altidore, but man, Pozuelo is just the creative hub for this team. I mean, over 2 successful dribbles per game, and is literally the biggest reason why they are where they are in the standings. Next, we have Orlando City. Probably the biggest surprises so far this season. Fourth in the Eastern Conference, and they've got 3 wins and 2 draws in their last 5 games. So barely dropped any points. Still looking very strong. Not many people expected them to continue this run that they're on. After showing up at the MLS's back tournament, people expect that's just like a one-time thing. They just showed up for a big-time tournament, or not even a big-time tournament. Like, they considered it like a preseason tournament, and they're going to fall apart in the phase 1. Not the case, and a big reason for that is because of the emergence of Christopher Mueller. I mean, this American has been killing it. 7 goals, 4 assists, completing 81% of his 25 passes, 1.5 key passes per game, 1 successful dribble per game as well. He has just been, doing it all for them, and has really broken out this year, and it's the biggest reason why they are where they are. I mean, you obviously got guys like Nani, really doing it for, really playing well for them, and Pereira as well. But Mueller has just been the more consistent piece, and from MLS's back to phase 1, he has not skipped a beat, and is one of the biggest reasons why they are in looking at their first postseason run in franchise history. Next, we have the New England Revolution, 5th in the Eastern Conference. They dropped down a bit more in the points department. They have 21 compared to 26 for Orlando City, but they have looked pretty strong. They've won 3 games in their last 5 games, and a big reason for their performance is that their defense. They've only allowed 12 goals this season, even though they've only scored 15. They've been able to make them count when they need them. And goalkeeper Matt Turner has really saved them a lot in this game. After a huge season in 2019, Turner has just been a rock for them between the sticks in 2020. He's got 46 saves, a .818 save percentage, and 5 clean sheets already this year. And they're going to need to ride him in order to be able to continue this run. I feel like they don't have the firepower to really keep up, but there's not really much. I mean, it is really close behind them, as you'll see. I mean, you got the New York City FC right behind them with 20 points. They come in at 6th in the Eastern Conference, 6 wins, 2 draws, 6 losses. So, they're either winning or they're losing. And the same thing for the New York Red Bulls, with the same exact record. But for New York City FC, they have another goalkeeper that is really keeping them in these games, with Sean Johnson, 53 saves, an 85.5 save percentage, and 6 clean sheets. So far, having the best season of his MLS career. They have dropped a few points in the last 5 matches with a loss and 2 draws. But believe it or not, those are the 2 draws that they have this season. But New York City FC have, performed well. 14 goals, 10 goals allowed, for a +4 goal differential, and look to have a very solid chance at making the playoffs this season, especially with the expanded field. Next, you had, like I said, the New York Red Bulls, who have the same record as New York City FC, except they have their defense has definitely been a lot worse this year, allowing 6 more goals than the NYCFC. They have scored a few more goals, but only have a +1 goal differential. They have won 3 of their last 4 games, so they're looking pretty solid heading into phase 2. And their top player has been defender Kyle Duncan. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist so far this season, has completed 75% of his 51 passes, and has just done it all. 3.1 clearances, 1.5 tackles, and has improved in a big way with his passing, And that was probably one of the biggest things that he needed to improve on, and he's done so. So Kyle Duncan definitely deserved to be the top player for the Red Bulls. And next, we got the Montreal Impact. Now, Montreal Impact were looking really good early on, but they have now, heading into Phase 2, capped off 4 straight losses. I don't know what to say about that. It's a really, really bad. This is where you start getting into the negative goal differentials. They've allowed 27 goals so far this season. That is worst in the Eastern Conference. They have scored 20 goals, which is good for 5th in the Eastern Conference. But when you're giving up that many goals, there's not much that can really save you. That's why they only have 1 draw this season, because their defense keeps them out of games and can't hold on to draws whenever they get solid goals. Their top player this year has been Romel Kyoto with 6 goals and 1 assist. He's also had over a key pass and dribble per game. But the Montreal Impact need to get it together if they want to stay in the playoff picture, because the next team, Nashville SC, even though this team has been terrible on the offensive end, only scoring 11 goals in their 13 matches, they've only allowed 14 goals. They have a -3 goal differential and have the same amount of points as the Montreal Impact. And in the last 5 games, they've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 1. So solid, results for them. And a lot of that has to do with the midfielder Dax McCarty. He's got a goal and 3 assists this year, completed 86% of his 55 passes, and has nearly 2 key passes and 2 tackles per game. Just doing everything for his side. Next, we got Chicago Fire, who have rattled off 2 straight wins recently and is in the thick of the playoff race. And a lot of that has to do with the goal scoring of Robert Beric. 6 goals and 1 assist. He's been huge for them. Next, we got Atlanta United, who have just fallen apart. I mean, obviously losing Joseph Martinez and, selling Gonzalo Martinez recently in 3 weeks ago. And they've lost 4 of their last 5 matches, not looking good at all. So the only designated player left, they got Ezekiel Barco, who has been their top player. 2 goals, 2 assists, 2.3 dribbles. It just depends if he can stay healthy. And they're going to need him to if they want to make the postseason. Next, we have FC Cincinnati, who have given up 21 goals and only scored 8 in their 14 matches. I mean, easily the worst offense in the league. And, don't know really what to say there. I mean, there's a reason Cincinnati is put on a lot of memes there in Instagram and Twitter. But, it doesn't have to do with what Frankie Amaya has given them. I mean, he's got a goal, has completed 85% of his 45 passes, has got 2.7 tackles per game, and, about a dribble per game. So he's done what he could, but it's just not enough, with the kind of quality that Cincinnati has on their team. Next, we have Inter Miami. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They were looking good for a little while, but now they've kind of reverted back to their, poor defensive efforts. They've allowed 22 goals so far this season. That's tied for 2nd worst in the Eastern Conference, and they've only got 12 goals this season. I mean, they just recently added Higuain, and it's supposed to go good. His debut went absolutely terrible. It was a nightmare debut for him. But their top player, got to give it to Luis Morgan. 2 goals, 1 assist, 2.4 key passes, 1.6 dribbles per game. He's been very solid for them and always seems to be the guy that makes the most positive plays on the team. And lastly, we got DC United, who is tied with Inter Miami with 11 points. 2 wins so far this season and 5 draws. Best player is Julian Gressel with 1 goal, 1 assist. And they've lost 3 of the last 4 matches. So DC United not looking so good this season, right along with Inter Miami. Next, let's get into the Western Conference with the number 1 seed being it's a little bit tighter up top. It's not as top heavy. It's more like pretty much like 1 through like 10, or pretty much 1 through like 12 is pretty tight. But Seattle Sounders come out on top with 24 points. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, and their top player is Nicolas Lodeiro. He's got 4 goals, 4 assists, has a ridiculous 7.4 key passes per game to go with 1.5 dribbles per game. It has been a really big part of their 29 goals scored this season. But the thing is, their defense is also very good, and their plus 17 goal differential is best in the MLS. Next, we got the Portland Timbers coming in at number 2. It really hurts that they lost Sebastian Blanco for the season, but they've won 3 games in a row. I mean, they have a really good all-around team, and Diego Valeri just continues to lead them as he has for so many years. He's got 6 goals, 3 assists, 2.5 key passes per game, and the biggest problem with the Timbers is their defense and their late execution. They only have a plus 3 goal differential, and the fact that they're still tied with the Seattle Sounders in points, I don't know whether that's poor late game execution by the Seattle Sounders in some of these games, or whether it's the Portland Timbers just making games happen, getting wins when they need it. But they're tied right there at 24 points. Next, we got Sporting KC, who have actually been on a pretty bad run as of late, dropping points in 4 of the last 5 games, with 2 losses and 2 draws. Graham Zusi is considered their top player. I mean, he's been really good with a goal and assist, 82% of his 63 passes completed, over 1 key pass per game, 1.3 tackles per game. So he's done what he could for them, and they've been pretty solid throughout the season, but they have definitely not come into this phase 2 the way they were hoping, with 20 points to their name. Next, we have FC Dallas, who was not looking good to start phase 1, losing losing a game to Nashville SC. But they have regrouped and look pretty solid. They scored 19 goals, allowed just 13. So they've definitely done very well in phase 1. They did drop points in their last 2 games, but did win 3 in a row before that. And a big reason for that is Thiago dos Santos just absolutely, managing the midfield for this team. 82% of his 53 passes completed, 2.7 tackles per game, and 1.4 successful dribbles per game. So Thiago dos Santos really, manning that midfield for FC Dallas. Next, we have Colorado Rapids, who come in with 19 points. They've really been killing it as of late. 3 wins in their last 4 games. They did lose one in between those, but a lot of that has to do with the absolute creative ability of Jonas Namli. He's got a goal and 3 assists so far this season, has completed 81% of his 36 passes to go with 1.7 key passes per game, but it's his 3.5 successful dribbles that really separates himself in this team, and has been a big reason for their explosive offense, which has scored 25 goals this season. Next, we got Minnesota United, who come in tied with Colorado Rapids with 19 points. They have played pretty bad heading into phase 2 with 2 draws and 2 losses in their last 4 games. But before that, they were looking very solid, and it was that MLS back tournament results really showed what they can do, and they brought it into phase 1. They just need to regroup now. Kevin Molino has been their top player with 6 goals and 2 assists and 1.5 successful dribbles per game. But they'll definitely need to see more from their defense. That is easier said than done from this extremely explosive Western Conference. Next, we have LAFC, who is just 1 point behind Colorado and Minnesota with 18. Their top player is Diego Rossi, who leads the league with 11 goals scored. He has 1 point. He's not just the scorers. He has 1.4 key passes per game as well. They just can't seem to find consistency with a loss, win, loss in their last 5 games. So they're gonna have to find that heading into phase 2. I know they've been without MVP Carlos Vela, but they've at least been able to hang on without him, and hopefully they get him back soon. They have scored the most goals in the MLS, so that does say something about how talented this team is. Next, we have Real Salt Lake, who now we start getting into the negative goal differential. They've allowed 21 goals, scored 19. Haven't looked very good in the last couple games. Dropping a few points, losing 2, winning 2, and drawing 1 in their last 5 games. Albert Rusnak has scored 3 goals and 2 assists, completed 2.5 key passes per game and 1.2 successful dribbles per game. Big reason for why they've been able to, at least hang in the postseason picture. And they'll need more from him and more from their defense if they really want to, play in the postseason, because they got a couple teams behind them that have looked pretty good. With the Houston Dynamo coming in next, they've scored 21 goals, allowed 24. So, not doing much better. And they've looked pretty bad heading into phase 2, with 3 draws and 2 losses in their last 5 games. Darwin Quintero has definitely been their most explosive player with 5 goals and 4 assists, 2.6 key passes, and 2.2 successful dribbles per game. So they'll definitely need, they'll definitely need that to continue for them. But he needs help from his other players. The defense needs to perform better. They're just 2 points off Real Salt Lake, so they can definitely make a push to go up further in the standings. Next, we have pretty much the worst teams definitely the worst teams in the Western Conference. Obviously, we're going through the standings, but just off performance as well. You have the Vancouver Whitecaps with a minus 14 goal differential, allowing 31 goals. That's second worst in the Western Conference, and I think second worst in the entire league. And they just have not been able to handle the explosiveness of the Western Conference, and specifically their region, who they've had to take on, what was it, Seattle, Vancouver. I'm talking about Vancouver, so stupid. Minnesota. They just have not been able to handle that, and it's clearly hurting them. Ali Adnan Karim has a goal and 3 assists, 2.8 key passes per game, 1.9 aerials. So he's definitely not the reason. So they just need that defense to step up. Next, we got LA Galaxy, who, coming into the season had a lot of high hopes with the acquisition of Chicharito, but that has obviously not come to fruition with the injuries that he has suffered. They do go into phase 2 with 3 straight losses. And, out of any team that's this low in the standings, they have the best chance of making it into the postseason. But they definitely need a lot of things that go well for them. Sebastian Letget has been the best player for them, 5 goals, 2 assists, just over 1 tackle, dribble, and aerials per game. They just need more from their other players, straight up. Like Christian Pavón has been great. So they have the talent. They just need more production from them. And last, we have the San Jose Earthquakes, who have possibly been the worst team in the league. Even though they have more points than both DC United and Inter Miami, and I believe the other team, and FC Cincinnati. This team has allowed 39 goals this season, easily worst in the MLS, and that minus 20 goal differential also easily worst in the MLS. So, Christian Espinosa has done what he can do for them. A goal, 5 assists, and just over 2 key passes and 2 successful dribbles per game. They did win their last game, but 2 losses preceded that, and the Earthquakes defense is just absolutely abysmal, and that needs to improve if they want to make any kind of noise this season, which I don't expect them to. So that's going to wrap it up for the MLS standings, and just talking about the teams. Let's make sure you guys come back, because in the next segment I'm going to be talking about the top transfer news in the top 5 leagues.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, I pretty much just gave an overview of the MLS landscape, talked about the standings in the Western and Eastern Conference, and the top players on each team. Now we're going to be talking about the top transfer news in the top 5 leagues, because we got the transfer window closing in about a week or so. And so I just want to get into some of the rumors and completed signings that we have going on in those leagues. So first, for the Premier League, Manchester City signed Benfica center back Ruben Dias for a record signing 65 million euros. This officially puts Pep Guardiola over 400 million euros spent on defenders at Man City. And like I was saying recently, they clearly need it because that defense is an absolute shambles. I mean, they didn't have Laporte. I mean, they did have Laporte in that game, but it's just they need more. And maybe Ruben Dias is the answer. Maybe he isn't. It just kind of feels like they're throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. And I mean, I guess if you're a Manchester City fan, you're kind of just crossing your fingers and hopefully this is the one. Hopefully this is the guy that can really make a difference. Hopefully this is our Virgil van Dijk or something, which he isn't. I mean, he's not at that kind of caliber, but he's clearly showed something on Benfica for them to sign 65 million to spend 65 million euros for him. Either way, I feel like Manchester City are pretty much just doing whatever they can to try to make their defense solid. I mean, they have Nathan Ake, who is also a really good signing for them in defense. But in the end, this just adds more depth to them. And of course, Otamendi goes the other way to Benfica, so his time at Man City is done. Next, we got Leicester City completes the transfer deal for St. Etienne center back Wesley Fofana for 32 million euros. This is a very solid signing for Leicester City, especially with all these injuries that they're dealing with. Ndidi being out for a few months. You have Pereira out for a bit. I mean, I'm not sure how long he's going to be gone. But those are two of your best defenders. And Wesley Fofana has really shown, a lot of things at St. Etienne and in Liga. Of course, that's Liga, and Premier League is a whole other monster. But I believe Fofana has the ability to contribute for Leicester City right away. And if not this season, then definitely next season. He'll be easily their consistent starter. Next, we have Manchester United being offered Luka Jovic, the Real Madrid flop, on loan. You're going to be hearing this a lot because Real Madrid is literally just shopping out Luka Jovic to pretty much anybody who can possibly get him because they don't want anything to do with him because he has been absolutely terrible since his transfer from, I believe, Frankfurt. But yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. I mean, if they do end up bringing him in on loan, he's going to be coming off the bench primarily. I mean, he might take that Lingard spot. But if he also, suffers there, all in all, Luka just needs a new location. He needs somewhere new to play and just a fresh start. That's what he needs. Next, we got West Brom securing their second season-long loan for Benfica's midfielder Filip Krovinovic. He had a very successful season last year for them, helping them get promoted from the championship. And, ever since, they've been trying to bring him back. Krovinovic has said that he feels like West Brom is like family, and you want a player who really likes the system and likes the team overall. And I feel like this is going to be a really great signing for West Brom. Will it keep them out of the relegation zone? I'm not sure. I mean, they have looked pretty solid to start this season, and this is just another solid signing to help out that midfield. And last in the Premier League, we have Liverpool's 20-year-old striker Ryan Brewster is getting closer to a Sheffield United deal. Now, I really like this deal for Sheffield United because they need some kind of fresh attack in that team because they have not looked good to start this season, and they need something to really jolt them in order to, stay in the Premier League for another season because they have not looked good at all. Brewster is a very, high-profile player. I mean, for Liverpool, 20 years old, and if they get him, he'll definitely be starting. He'll definitely get his opportunities, and that's all you really want as a young player. Brewster's obviously looking for a spot because he's not really going to get any real playing time in Liverpool, who have Premier League title and Champions League title aspirations this year. So I think this would be a good signing for both parties, or all three parties, I guess you would say. Next, we're moving on to La Liga, which there really isn't that much news going on over here, but I'll talk about a few things. The first one, I just want to talk. I know I said this in the last segment, and I've talked about this earlier because Luis Suarez has already played for Atletico, but they get that deal done for him for that 5.5 million euro deal. This is just such a huge signing for Atletico Madrid, and it really makes me feel like they can make some really big noise this year, because when Luis Suarez is healthy, he is one of the best strikers in the world. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And where has Atletico Madrid always had problems? With their attack, with them being able to consistently score goals. And of course, Diego Simeone is a part of that because of his, the way he likes to play and his tactics. But Luis Suarez absolutely, jolts that offense, and it'll be really exciting. I mean, we've already seen it in this weekend. He had 2 goals and an assist to start his Atletico Madrid campaign and career. So that's a huge signing for them, and that's going to do wonders, for the results this season. Next, we have Valencia attempting to sign Danielle Rugani from Juventus. Rugani has not played a single minute for Juve this season. He's one of 3 players to not play a single minute. The other 2 are injured. So it's obvious that Rugani is not in the plans of Andre Pirlo. I feel like this is a deal that needs to be done. Just the same as Luka Jovic, Rugani clearly needs a fresh start. Moving to Valencia and getting time there will do wonders for him, especially since he's still, a young player. He needs somewhere new, and I think this would be a solid signing for him. Valencia obviously need, some more players to bring into their squad because they have not, they've looked okay, but they're obviously in a rebuilding mode, and Rugani would be a really good start for that. And this next deal, I was actually very shocked when I saw this news. It's probably just a big rumor that the Spanish media is putting out there to have some noise, but Alexander Zinchenko has reportedly been offered to Barsa. Now, I'm a big Alexander Zinchenko fan. I feel like he would, definitely do big things in Barsa. The only thing is that they don't really have an opening in the fullback position. Even like wing back, which they don't really use in their formation. And I don't think Ronald Koeman would change just because Zinchenko's there. You got Jordi Alba. You have, Roberto there, Sergi Roberto. I don't think Zinchenko really fits into the plans there. If he is needed, that would be an absolute big-time signing for him. And I think Zinchenko would, especially with this new era of Barca football coming in, or Barca soccer, however it should be said, would definitely be bringing in some youth and really solid ability and quality into the side. But that's going to be it for La Liga. I mean, I really did not see any more news for La Liga in terms of transfer rumors. Hopefully that changes soon, because I always love transfer rumors. But yeah, that's it for them. Next, we got the Bundesliga, who, to start, Ajax is actually looking to bring back Werder Bremen's midfielder, Davy Klaassen. Bremen would prefer to keep him, but are willing to part ways if the price is right. And I mean, is that really news? Anybody would be willing to sell anybody if the price is right. But Klaassen was a very solid player for them last season, even though Werder Bremen looked absolute trash. I guess they're not really trying to keep him that much, but I mean, in the end, Klaassen probably is going to move back to Ajax, because he played 6 years there for he started there in their academy, and he's Dutch, and usually those guys really like to go play for Ajax, because Ajax is one of the best Dutch teams, or is the biggest Dutch team in the world. So I could see that happening. Not 100% sure about it. But next we have Union Berlin has agreed to sign goalkeeper Loris Karius from Liverpool on loan. I was kind of confused by this, because they already have a goalkeeper in Andreas Luth there who is playing well. So I think this is a weird signing. Maybe this is just good for a backup spot for Union Berlin, which is crazy, because look at how far Loris Karius has fallen. From starting in the Champions League final for Liverpool to now being a backup goalkeeper for Union Berlin. It's just kind of crazy to even think, but that is where he is now. But I mean, Union Berlin is a good squad. I was really, inspired by the story that they had there to make it out of the second division in Bundesliga, and the fans just being super hyped for them, and them being able to finish in mid-table. So there's worse spots for him to land, but can he get time there? Who knows? Next we have Bayern Munich. 21-year-old midfielder Michael Cuisance is possibly on the way to the Premier League side Leeds United for 20 million euros. This would just be another big signing for Leeds United, who brings in more youth from a top club like Bayern Munich. I recently found out that their name is München. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Bayern München. I guess that's the way you say it in Germany, but I've been saying Bayern Munich, because I hear so many people tell me it's Bayern Munich. But I guess I'll be saying Bayern München from now on. But yeah, 21-year-old midfielder Michael Cuisance could be on the way to Leeds United, and I feel like that'll just be another big-time signing for them. They've looked really good in the Premier League so far, and bringing this kid in would just be another way to solidify that midfield and just add more depth to the squad. Next, RB Leipzig have secured the signing for forward Alexander Sorloth for 22 million euros. He had a huge season on loan in Turkey last season with 24 goals and 8 assists. So RB Leipzig are hoping he comes in and fills that striker role that they are missing with Timo Werner gone now. And I'm expecting big things. 24 goals, 8 assists, even if it's in the Turkey League, that's still big time. So I believe Sorloth can definitely bring a lot of positivity to RB Leipzig. And last, we have Atletico Madrid defender Santiago Arias is being sent to Bayer Leverkusen on loan. Bayer Leverkusen, really solid squad in Germany, and to be able to get a defender from the Diego Simeone, side, obviously that's good news for them. And hopefully he can get some time there and really show them what he can do and really help Bayer Leverkusen get a Champions League spot. Next, we're going to move on to Serie A, where, like I said, you're going to hear a lot of that Luka Jovic talk. Roma is now being offered Luka Jovic on loan for 1 year, and Roma are looking for a Dzeko backup after that Milik deal fell apart. It was going to be Milik coming in for Dzeko and Dzeko probably going to Napoli. But it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. So now Dzeko's probably going to be staying. and Luka Jovic would be the backup to him. I mean, you can have a lot worse backups than Luka Jovic, who was one of the most sought-after transfer targets 2 seasons ago, and he's still very young, so Roma could definitely add that to their squad. Next, we had a lot of news from AC Milan, as they are close to completing the signing of winger Jens Petir Hausch from Bora Glimt. He impressed them heavily in the recent Europa League matchup, and for just, I believe it's like 5 million euros, they feel like they're getting a deal for this kid. So, coming into AC Milan, a big-time team like AC Milan, he's got a lot to prove, and I think he can do it. Fullback Luca Pellegrini is another Juve youngster that has been sent on loan to Hanoi. There's clearly some very good, friendships there between Hanoi and Juve, because they keep on, making these deals. And I was kind of confused by this one, because they are already missing a lot of fullbacks. I mean, Alex Sandro is out on injury, and they have pretty much just 3 fullbacks on the roster. So I don't know why they made this move, and I believe fans are also confused by it. But only time will tell on that one. Next, we have Alvaro Morata returning to Juve on loan from Atletico Madrid. This is a big-time signing for them, because they did not have a pure number 9 with Higuain leaving the squad. And obviously that Luis Suarez deal falling apart because of all those complications with his Italian citizenship. But Alvaro Morata really gives them a solid player in that spot. And he's been in the Juve system before. He's just a good striker, and he had a good season last year with Atletico Madrid, so I feel like he's going to do really well for Juve, and he's already started for them. Started in that 2-2 draw against Roma. Next, we have Roma making a 15 million euro offer for Chris Smalling, who has been linked to Inter Milan. I mean, they have been working on this deal for literally 6 months, because after Chris Smalling played unbelievable for Roma in the last season and really made that defense one of the best in the league. Really, I mean, I'm hoping this comes through, because I really wanted to see Smalling back in Roma. But knowing Manchester United, they're probably going to be like, no, it's not enough, and we need 20, we need 25, and it's probably not going to work. But it's good that they're putting in another offer for him to try to make the deal happen. And last, we have Juve looking at Fiorentina's Federico Chiesa, prepping a 45 million euro bid for him. Chiesa has been one of the better youngsters in Serie A, and Juve are just looking to add more to their riches, man. And Fiorentina is probably not going to go for it. They probably want more than 45, probably looking in the 60 range, because this kid has been really good for them. And but if Juve can make it happen, I mean, my God, they would just continue to get better and better. But yeah, that's going to do it all for Serie A. Now let's move on to Ligue 1, where most of the deals are usually PSG, but I have a few Lyon talks as well. Out of favor, Tottenham midfielder Dele Alli could be on the move to PSG. PSG does not have a lot of depth in the midfield, in my opinion, or defense for that matter. But this move for Dele Alli would do wonders for them, would add a lot of creativity for them in that midfield, who without Neymar pretty much don't have any kind of creative. I mean, obviously you got Mbappe, you got Di Maria, but I'm talking about in the midfield. You don't usually have any kind of creativity. You have good defense, you have good passing from Verratti and Gay, but Dele Alli would add a different dynamic to that team. Another player that PSG is looking for is Antonio Rudiger, but their loan offer for him was rejected by Chelsea, and I'm not surprised, because Chelsea need all the defenders they can get and need depth at that position, because Thiago Silva hasn't started off well in the Premier League, and same thing with Andreas Christensen. So Antonio Rudiger is definitely going to be a part of that team this season. Next, you have Lyon are in talks with Leicester City for striker Islam Slimani. He was on loan last season he's been on loan from Leicester City for a few years now, after he made a 32 million euro move to Leicester City from, I believe, Portugal. but he had a really solid season long loan with Monaco last year, and Lyon are obviously trying to see if they can bring him in. I feel like that would only happen if they lose one of their top attackers like Dembele, Memphis Depay, or Hassoum Aouar, who I will be talking about right after this. But that's a good backup plan. Slimani, who has already played in Liga, has experience there, and did pretty well for Monaco. Next, we have Lyon president Jean-Michel Aulas has set a deadline for Arsenal to close a deal for Hassoum Aouar. They are expecting more than 40 million euros in any bid for him. And I just don't think it's going to happen because I don't feel like Arsenal have the money. They've already made signings even though it was a free deal for Willian and Gabriel. And I just don't see them being able to come up with the money to bring in Aouar. That would be a big-time signing for them because it would add more creativity, more playmaking for them, which they sorely need. But I just don't expect it to happen with now a deadline being set by the Lyon president. So that's going to wrap it up for the third segment of the show. Make sure you guys stick around because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 teams that could win the Champions League this season.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, I gave you guys pretty much a full-on recap of the top 5 league transfer news. And now we're going to be talking about the top 10 teams that could win the Champions League this season. We have the Champions League group stage draw right around the corner. So I just felt it was a great time to just talk about which teams can win the Champions League this season without knowing where the group stages are. I just feel like it's a good time to do it. And I'm going to be starting with Inter Milan at number 10. I feel like they had a very strong season last year despite losing to Sevilla in the Europa League final. They have a very strong side led by Antonio Conte. They have Romelu Lukaku, one of the best strikers in the world, probably the strongest striker in the world. And you match him up with Lautaro Martinez, Christian Eriksen, Nicola Barella in that attack. I just feel like it, and of course adding Achraf Hakimi as one of the best fullbacks in the world. Inter Milan have a lot of weapons that they can use, and aside from that, they have a really good defense as well. You got Stefan De Vrij, Marcelo Brozovic, Arturo Vidal, who was added this season, and of course, the captain Samir Handanovic, who has been one of the best goalkeepers in Serie A. Inter Milan is definitely going to be one of those teams to look out for this upcoming season. They got a lot of quality throughout their side, and they last season went to a final together. I feel like that does a lot for a team. Obviously, adding a young player like Hakimi, who will just add more creativity and playmaking to that attack, is just going to make them even better. You're going to get a full season of Christian Eriksen, you're going to get Arturo Vidal to add some toughness to that team in the midfield. And, of course, like I said, Brozovic, who is one of the best defensive midfielders in the world right now. Yeah, that is exactly why Inter Milan come in at number 10. At number 9, we have Borussia Dortmund. They are managed by Lucien Favre, and they made some noise last season. They obviously bringing in Erling Haaland, who was considered one of the top transfer targets last season, and he's proven all those, all the hype correct, breaking all these types of records last season in the Bundesliga in terms of goal scoring. And, it was looking like Jadon Sancho was not going to stick with the club. It looked like he was probably going to make that big-time transfer to Manchester United, but it never went through. And that is great news for Borussia Dortmund as they get to run back this young squad once again, led by those two young superstars in Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland. But aside from that, they still have great veteran presence on the team in Marco Reus, who was out for most of last season. So you're going to get a full season of him. And, adding that to your attack is huge because of, his composure. He's been there, done that. He's going to do great things for them. Mats Hummels in the defense is going to be great. You got Axel Witsel in the midfield. And then, of course, Thorgan Hazard and Roman Bürki are going to be big-time players for them as well. And then you add the two youngsters that have already shown that they're, they can make things happen in the attack in Giovanni Reina and Jude Bellingham. And I feel like you have a young and, a great mix here with, like some good veteran talent, some very, very good young talent, because I've always said Borussia Dortmund have the best young talent in Europe, hands down, or pretty much in the world. The only team that usually rivals them is Ajax, but when you got Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland, which are two of the best young players in the entire world, there is no contest there, and I feel like they can definitely make noise and surprise some people this season. And that's why they come in at number 9. Next, we have a surprise here. I got Barcelona coming in at number 8. I know a lot of people would say, they deserve to be a lot, higher. They got Lionel Messi, who wants to be with the club again. Antoine Griezmann. You got Pjanic. You got Coutinho. You got big time players. But Ronald Koeman comes into this team and setting a brand new he obviously wants to change up the way things have been going there, and he wants to have his system run. And I feel like that's going to take a year to adjust for this team. You still got guys who have been winning there for years. Sergio Busquets, Gerard Piqué, who I expected to not be there after, the kind of talks that I heard from Koeman. Obviously, Luis Suarez isn't there anymore, so Antoine Griezmann is going to have to step up in a big way. And someone that people usually don't even though the main reason he's not talked about a lot because he's so young, but it's Ansu Fati. This kid, he's literally a kid. He's only 18 years old. Or I think he's 19. No, he's 18. It has already proven that he can make it happen on the big stage. He upped his level of production last year in the Champions League, and I expect that to happen again this year as he's already come out looking, firing on all cylinders in La Liga. You got Frankie de Jong, who's, expects to get even better this season after a very strong debut season for Barcelona. And then, of course, the goalkeeper, Marc-Andre ter Stegen. He is injured right now, and he's probably going to be out for, a few of the group stage matches. But I believe with Neto in goal, they'll be able to at least advance to the knockout rounds. They will need him back for that. So that is a huge, blow for them in terms of, continuity and, just being able to, be in good form heading into the knockout rounds. Ter Stegen's going to really need to be at the top of his game. But they still have an overall great team, very high quality side. And I expect Barcelona to be one of the best teams in the league, in the world once again. At number 7, we have Juventus. Same thing, another team that has a brand new manager in Andrea Pirlo. Biggest difference here is that Pirlo doesn't even have any managing experience. He's probably got some experience managing youth teams, but I don't expect him to really, take this team all the way. I do have him 7th. I do have him over Barcelona, who also have a new manager, but that's because I believe more in like Cristiano Ronaldo, Paulo Dybala, Matthias de Ligt, if he can come back healthy. And I really like their youngster, Dejan Kulusevski. They do have some really good defensive players in Leonardo Bonucci and Giorgio Chiellini. And of course, their goalkeeper, Szczesny, who has done, just who has been one of the best goalkeepers in the world for the past couple seasons. Their brand new signing of Arthur, who I like more than the signing of Pjanic. Obviously it was a swap deal, Pjanic for Arthur. And I love what Arthur brings to this Juve squad when he can come back healthy. That would be huge. And of course, the recent signing of Alvaro Morata. I think that really boosts this side and takes them to another level, especially since they didn't have a pure number 9 before that. So I do think the absence of a fullback depth is going to hurt them, and that's why they don't go any higher on this list. Next, we have Atletico Madrid at number 6. They are managed by Diego Simeone, the defensive specialist, and there is no doubt in my mind that this team is going to be back at, easily in the knockout stages and definitely going to make some noise. I think they can even win it all this season. I mean, I'm not just looking at what they just did, 6-0, or what was it? Yeah, it was 6-0? No, 6-1 against Granada. And I know it's just Granada, not a big time team, but just the way that they look, I know it's not going to be the same when they go up against top talent, but the defense is obviously still going to be there because you still got John Oblak, you got Jose Jimenez, you got Thomas Partey, you got Koke, Saul, Marcos Llorente. So you obviously got some top defensive talent on this team, and obviously led by Diego Simeone and his defensive tactics. Those are obviously going to be big time. This is obviously going to be one of the best defensive teams in the world. But you add Luis Suarez to João Felix, Diego Costa, Angel Correa, and you got a squad. And if this team can really bring it together and show that they can score on the big stage, which of course Luis Suarez has shown he can do that already time and time again. It all just depends if he can be healthy. And then João Felix, I think this kid has all the talent in the world. It all depends if Simeone can really unlock it and put it out there consistently. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see what this Atletico Madrid team can do, and I feel like they'll surprise people big time. Next, at number 5, we have PSG. My squad, of course, led by Thomas Tuchel, and any team that has Neymar and Kylian Mbappe on the same squad cannot be any lower than 5. I'm sorry. I do not care if they have started this season out bad, but when you have Neymar and Kylian Mbappe, you cannot be any lower than 5. Those two guys will bring you easily out of the group stage. That's of course if they get a really bad draw, who knows, but I still think they'll be at least one of the top 2 teams in any group stage that they get. Usually should be the top squad, but who knows? Anything can happen in the Champions League, but they have plenty of talent besides Mbappe and Neymar. You got Angel Di Maria, who I've talked about plenty on this on these shows. Keylor Navas, who has proven to be able to win the ultimate prize with Real Madrid, and he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. You got Marco Verratti and Idrissa Gueye, who manage that midfield very well with solid passing and really good defense. Mauro Icardi, who if he can come into his own would be huge for this attack. I feel like he is the ultimate, he's the guy that they need to be playing well in order to really round out this attack, because Neymar is really solid creator and can obviously make anything happen by himself. Obviously he needs those guys to really finish it off for him, but Kylian Mbappe as a singular striker, I do not like it. I don't think he's big enough. He's obviously quick enough, but I don't think he has. I think it's better when he's playing off somebody else, and Mauro Icardi can be that guy. You obviously got Marquinhos there as well, who has proven that he can to be one of easily the most versatile piece on this team. And you add Kimpembe as well to go with him in that defense, and I feel like this team is primed for another strong showing in the Champions League. Next, we got Real Madrid coming in at number 4. The best defensive side last season, I believe, is going to be, again, the bestest defensive side this season when you got guys like Sergio Ramos, Casemiro, Thibaut Courtois, Toni Kroos, Varane, All those guys are going to be huge-time players for this team once again, and Zidane, one of the best managers in the world, is going to lead them. It's all about whether the attack can really muster up enough goals consistently. Benzema's obviously going to continue to do his thing. Martin Odegaard coming in definitely adds more creativity to the midfield. And obviously Luka Modric can do, all sorts of things in that midfield as well. But can guys like Eden Hazard step up? Can Eden Hazard step up and be the superstar player that they brought him in to be? If he can, Real Madrid probably goes up 1, maybe 2 spots on this list because I feel like they have that much quality. But Eden Hazard just being such a flop so far in his Real Madrid career doesn't give me a lot of confidence that Real Madrid can really win it all this season. They are 4th, so I do believe they have a chance. But the thing is, if they go up against one of these 3 teams coming up ahead of them, I feel like they won't be able to really win. And that is why I'm going to be talking about Manchester City coming in at number 3. They are led by Pep Guardiola, one of the best managers in the world who just wins wherever he goes. And they have easily the best midfielder in the world in Kevin De Bruyne, who can win you any game on any given night. His ability to score goals, his ability to set up goals, obviously is his number 1 ability. But he can just do so many things for their team, for this team, and he's shown it time and time again. And the amount of attacking players that they have: Raheem Sterling, Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Gabriel Jesus, Sergio Aguero, and the list goes on and on. Just shows you the type of versatility that this team has in the attack. They can beat you by themselves with ridiculous dribble moves, but it's just the fact that they also, can link up very well with each other, especially Bernardo Silva. I think he is such a Swiss Army knife on this team. You can pretty much put him anywhere you want, and he will perform for you. And I think that's just invaluable. I feel like Bernardo Silva is one of the most valuable pieces in the entire world because of his versatility. And I feel like that's going to be the big piece for them. And then you also got guys in defense. Obviously, I've already talked. The defense is an absolute shambles. And hopefully that signing of Ruben Diaz can make a difference. But you also got Laporte there. So you have your top defender. They just need another guy to really go along with him. And then you add Fernandinho and, of course, goalkeeper Ederson along with that. And, you have a very solid squad overall. And I cannot continue without mentioning Phil Foden as well, who, is a box-to-box midfielder. He'll give you hustle on the defensive end, but then obviously can create and play make for you on the offensive end. And he's shown the ability to score goals as well. So I think that Manchester City is going to be one of the top teams in the Champions League this season, and do not be surprised if they finally get over the hump this year, if they can sign, big if the defense can really find its stride. If it can, the world is Manchester City's, because I feel like that's all they need. They need that defense to really hook and connect to really put them over the hump. So that's where it all winds up. Can Laporte, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake really make a difference for Manchester City? Time will only tell. At number 2, you guys might be surprised with this decision. I got Bayern Munich at number 2. They're managed by Hansi Flick. They got a slew of top quality talent. You got obviously Robert Lewandowski leading being the head of the snake, with him just being easily the best striker in the world and being one of the best overall players in the world. He should have won the Ballon d'Or last season with his 55 goals in all competitions. And when I talked today about the game between Hoffenheim, they didn't have Lewandowski to start this game, and they clearly missed him. He didn't make that much of a difference when he came on, but he's still a huge-time player for them, and it's the guys they have around him as well, and just how well they connect. You got Thomas Mueller, Joshua Kimmich, Serge Gnabry, and of course the brand new signing of Leroy Sané, who, and I want to see more from him. but he's still a big-time player and a big-time creator. I mean, you got Leon Goretzka, and I mean, you got the defense of Niklas Süle, David Alaba, Benjamin Pavard, and of course, Alphonso Davies. And then, can you really mention Bayern Munich? I said Bayern Munich to start, but Bayern Munich without mentioning the goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer. Probably, I mean, just the way he's been playing as of late, probably the best goalkeeper in the world right now. Maybe second, third best, depending on who you know, maybe you might have Alisson ahead of him, John Oblak, but he's right there with him. Just going to show that he is still one of the best, and Bayern Munich, they're going to be there. Bayern Munich, they're going to be there. They're going to be at the top. They're probably going to make the final again. I mean, I would not be surprised. I really wouldn't. But if they meet this team any sooner, this next team, and you guys probably know who it is, I feel like they'll lose. Because Liverpool are the best team in the world, in my opinion. They are led by Jurgen Klopp, and they have probably the most all-around squad in the world. You got Virgil van Dijk leading the defense, along with Joe Gomez. They probably need to add another defender to really give them some depth in that position. But that's really the only weakness. I mean, Joe Gomez is still serviceable center back. And then when you add the fact that they have two of the best, or probably the two best fullbacks in the world, in Andrew Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold alongside them. And then you got Thiago Alcantara, and you got Jordan Henderson, Jorginho, Wijnaldum. All those guys just playing, who contribute on the defensive end. I feel like it makes up for not having that one, high quality center back alongside Van Dijk. In the end, Liverpool just have a slew of players, and then obviously the attack. That's this team's bread and butter. You got Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and Roberto Firmino. That's your front three, and that is where they make their money. Those guys have been together for years now, and they have such a great connection. And I feel like that's ultimately what's going to put Liverpool over the top. The fact that obviously that Thiago signing is ultimately what made me give Liverpool that number one spot. Because, I mean, think about it. If Bayern Munich would have had Thiago still, I would have put Bayern Munich over Liverpool. But they don't have him anymore. He's now in Liverpool, and he's going to make a big difference for them. It sucks that he has COVID and he hasn't been able to play for them yet, but he will make a difference when he is there. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I love bringing this content out to you guys, and I just want to keep on, bringing out my personality to you guys. Today I kind of did this show a little late, so my voice might not be at the same level of intensity as it usually is. But I hope you guys still enjoyed the episode. So as always, thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.